Welcome back to the TISM Report. It's been quite a while since I've made one of these, but I'm excited to get back into the groove, and we have plenty to discuss, most of which is directly from Ponder Sprocket or in relation to Ponder Sprocket. The first on today's report is what happened after my part 1 on Ponder Sprocket and Darkness Stone's 4-part collab came out. Shortly after it came out, Ponder privated the 2 videos on her channel from that 4-part collaboration. The 2 videos that were a part of that collab with Stone became membership-only content. But that wasn't all that she privated. Her getting the goat on another Sashley drama video was also privated, and from what I've been told behind the scenes, note that there is no evidence for this. This is purely testimony. Take it with a grain of salt. But after my video, she was approached with some other issues, in relation to her Sashley video, and she chose to remove it. Now, if you've seen the Sashley video, or if you've perhaps seen the several live streams reacting to the Sashley video, you probably know what those issues are. And it's crazy to me that the video got 1 million views and was there for 5 to 6 years, and very few people noticed. But with that said, that's not all that's happened. You see, Ponder has given some form of a response to why she's privated these videos. This was shared with me. Okay, so first off, love the art, always have. Secondly, I just noticed that a few of your older videos are not member only. I'm gonna presume they meant now, like the Icy Hazard commentary video. Can I ask why? Third, what happened to most of the Madame/Ash situation videos, like the collab with Darkness Stone? I don't stand by and legitimately despise most of my old content. I've opted to remove some of the more extreme of those examples, as my channel shifts into something I'm more comfortable with. Something of the older content will be made only available to members as a kind of legacy thing. Legacy is 100% not the correct word, but I'm not sure what would be more appropriate right now. The more current content I put out, the more older stuff goes in the vault. Oh, okay. Darn, I used some of the older drama stuff. It was nice to listen to. Welp, glad I got to listen to them when I did. I'm sorry, but they really aren't good videos. I hope that you're able to find better content to fill that niche. Well, there's something we can agree upon. I noticed there's a lot of vagueness in it. She says that she despises this content, but she doesn't declare why. For specifics, in case the Darkness Stone collab videos, I don't know, the fact that she lied out her ass, that she wasn't very honest, that she may have omitted a couple of details, may have made a few things up, may have contradicted herself constantly in it. No. Let's keep it vague so that my audience can keep making excuses for me and fill in the gaps as to why I would take down these videos and avoid directly talking about it. But that's not all that's happened. Ponder is still hiding comments. Now, the last time I spoke about this, I talked about how she was mainly doing it to me and the hypocrisy with that. She got on to me for removing Slimmers' comment on a video about Slimmers, and yet she has shadow banned me because I was commenting on the videos about me. Let's not focus on me. That's less important. Let's focus on the audience members and the numerous ones that she has since shadow banned. From this month alone, let's go over that and how I sort of stumbled upon this copious amount of evidence. I took a look at her most recent video, around August 16th or 17th, and I checked the newest comments. There was a comment that was asking her why she gets into slap fights or spats. I can't remember the specific wording of it, with teenagers. But then I had something else to go to. I can't quite remember that specifically. I just know that about 50 minutes later I came back and refreshed the tab, and the comment was gone. I had a hunch, but I had no evidence. I didn't screenshot anything. The next day, I made an alt account named Artful Cherry, and I went to Ponder's comments, and I made a comment somewhat similar to that one, but not quite the same, so it wouldn't be considered spam. A couple hours later, after I told my Discord members about it, asking them if they could see it themselves, I was then informed by one of the server members that they could not see my comment. In fact, I could not see my own comment when on my main YouTube account. I had to get back onto the Artful Cherry account to see my comment. I could not see it on any other account, and no one else could see the comment. But even with that, I thought, this isn't enough. I don't want to make any bad faith assumptions and jump to conclusions. I need to give Ponder the benefit of the doubt, like she gave me the benefit of the doubt. That's what her audience likes to tell themselves, especially in Cat's Lair. I needed to be fair and charitable. You see, I needed more evidence. So I asked my server members if one of them would be willing to make a comment and a similar light of criticism, just to see how long it would last, if it would even be removed. And the person who chose to do that is a wonderful artist by the name of My Fluffy Buns on Twitter, or The Buns. She's made plenty of fan art, but I just love her art style as a whole. Seriously, you should go follow her. Wonderful stuff. I'll have her link down below. You'll be seeing much of her fan art in the fan art appreciation video. But this was the comment that she left. I then went to check if I could see this comment, and I could. Another Discord member went to check if they could see the Buns comment, and they could. But just 15 minutes later, Buns went on YouTube using the YouTube incognito, which functions as a separate account from your own. And shock of all shocks, she couldn't see her own comment, providing a screenshot of that into my server. That same previous Discord member went back to Ponder's video to check if they could see the Buns comment. They couldn't. A minute later, and Buns logged back into her main account and checked if she could still see her comment on the account that made it. And I'm sure this will come as a surprise to you, but Buns could see her own comment on the account that made the comment. How peculiar. Now, perhaps that's not enough evidence for you. Perfect, because just a few days later, August 23rd at 6 p.m., I noticed yet another comment criticizing Ponder on the same video, and I had the exact same hunch that it would disappear into the abyss of her sensitive feelings, becoming subtle censorship. So this time, I actually screenshotted the comment below, and I shared it with my server. If you're curious about the Discord server, a link will be provided below in the description. It is an 18 and up server, and you will need to verify that you're an adult. There's nothing sketchy or weird about the server. It's not a degenerate hellhole. There's no weird chats or anything like that. We talk about more mature things and we make mature jokes, and minors just don't need to be in the mix. I then used the YouTube comment finder website and linked Ponder's video so I could get another perspective of this comment that also provided the exact time and date it was made. The website can also provide you a direct link to the comment on the video. And yes, I do have a link directly to this Alejandro Jimenez comment. And yet again, that same server member that had been screenshotting these other comments went to the comments section and screenshotted Alejandro's comment. Again, thank you so much for those who have contributed with this, with the evidence. Cartoon, for example, you're wonderful. Now, the next day, that's when things changed. The Alejandro Jimenez comment mysteriously vanished overnight. Now, the number this time remained 109 because another user, Favory Bunny, had commented on the video within the same time period that Alejandro's comment had vanished, basically replacing it for everyone else's feed. And returning to the YouTube comment finder website and linking Ponder's video yet again and typing in what Alejandro's comment said, Alejandro's comment no longer appears. And as of August 26th, when other people noticed that Ponder has been deleting comments, probably due to my community tab post trying to reach out to the aforementioned Alejandra, they went to Ponder's comments, bringing this up, only for those comments to get deleted too. And yet again, I have these comments screenshotted from the YouTube comment finder's perspective, and I have the direct links to these comments. Not that those links are of any use now, because the comments can't be seen by anyone else except the people who made them. These comments were removed within 2 hours. I made another community post reaching out to these individuals to inform them that their comments could no longer be seen, and asked whether or not they could still see their own comments. One of them commented and replied on it, confirming to me that they could still see their own comments. What all of this means is, Ponder is using the YouTube hide feature. She is shadow banning people. After all that lecturing, after going on about how I was supposedly deleting all comments that disagreed with me or offended me, how I had a problem with people trolling in my comments, or not describing me with the most noble of intent,
openly acknowledges that he removes comments that effectively don't agree with him or imply anything but the noblest intent. Which is hilarious considering his bias against Lemurs is very apparent from him openly harassing her and asking other people to send him her private information, thus betraying a lack of noble intent. That's what he's doing here when he says that he has been removing comments from his video. Lemurs even commented, and that comment is no longer on the video.
All that bullshit, right? And yet here Ponder is, shadow banning people from her entire channel for simply bringing up what she's done, or asking her if she's going to address it, if she's going to keep trying to dodge and avoid it, acting as though if she ignores her problems, they'll magically fade away. It's so silly, but beautifully poetic. Something to hide, maybe. It's hard not to be giddy about it. The tables have turned, and the person who was, 27, 28 lecturing me about, oh no, you shouldn't be deleting those comments, getting a dig at me for it, is now in her fucking 30s, doing the same thing. But I was supposed to learn from her. So who really hasn't grown and matured if I haven't been deleting comments and now she's deleting comments? Is it fair to say that she's regressed? Her maturity level, even? And as of August 27th, Chuuli's video on Junkie premiered for everyone. The video talks about Junkie's antics in relation to the FCK and herself, but she also talked a little bit about Ponder Sprocket, specifically in relation to spoctor tech, and she revealed that a month after the CP drive situation became known community-wide, she had reached out to Spoctor wanting to invite him back to Ponder's server, Fiendish Cavern, and that Ponder, who was 27 at the time, was fine with that, and Spoctor was invited back.
If you had paid attention to any of Heaton Mitsuru's drama with Colin in the past, which stemmed from her drama with Joseph, then first of all, rip your sanity, and secondly, you might remember that she mentioned how Colin was confronted in Ponder's server.
Now, a conversation got had in Ponder Sprocket's Discord server with him and our resident lore master, Aaron Tempest. Aaron took a lot of the same issues I did and wanted to get Spoctor's thoughts on it. Also, preemptively, I did get permission to share these screenshots from Ponder herself, so all of you who are going to try and use this as an argument, you can shut up.
The same server he had left in light of the allegations, meaning he at some point was allowed to return. Now, honestly, I feel like a fucking idiot for not putting those two dots together sooner, since one of the people Colin talked to while making the video Heaton got so fucking butt mad at was me. I was freshly dealing with coming forward about Liam and getting tone policed by Heaton and her doers of crackers bidding, and Colin asked me about what the deal with Liam was actually even about, since it was pure fucking chaos at that point. That was the only time I had spoken to him as an adult in that server, as any messages after were from when I was no longer really present because I had been successfully victim shamed for my abuse situation. So, when the fuck did he get back into the server? A month after he had admitted to having the drive with CSCM on it, and it was at my suggestion. I was a fan of his at the time, and trying pretty hard to be a good friend to him, since I naively thought at the time that he was a really sweet guy, and I had also been poisoned beyond beliefs by the adults around me, including my groomer, that the things Colin did were just stupid, easily forgivable mistakes that most make at some point in their lives. So I took it upon myself to reach out to him and see if he wanted me to get him back into the server. We had a talk that I die a little bit inside over every time I read it, and then I reached out to Ponder to ask him to let him back in. Now, I would hope that any 27-year-olds out there might hear this and think that, in her position, the correct response would be to firmly shut that request down and explain to the minor that they're talking to a dangerous individual, because that is the correct response. However, Ponder let him back into the server, and he was welcomed with open arms. There is grace to be given to a certain extent, given what Ponder was dealing with at the time, but it doesn't excuse Ponder from not making the obvious decision to publicly disavow Colin for what he had done, especially as the person who publicly defended him to the point of saving his entire internet career. Nor does it excuse the rest of the people in that server call not saying anything either. However, what truly nothing can excuse on Ponder's end is allowing Colin back into the server just a month after the call took place, discussing his admittance of keeping a drive with CSCM of a 13-year-old on it past his 18th birthday. And worse yet, inviting him back at the minor's behest.
Now, I can't pretend to be shocked by that. We're talking about the same person who believed Fegos' bullshit confession up until the end of 2021. And in that same period when she believed it, she prioritized smearing me while having the audacity, the gall, to lecture me about my weird priorities, kept him around as an editor, had him voicing in her videos, and she even paid him to help keep an eye on and get information on the people she was covering, like Madame. So her not caring about the Spoctor situation like she previously pretended to a month prior, I'm not surprised. And while I'm talking about Ponder choosing not to talk about Spoctor and that she let him back into her server after a month of seemingly being appalled and horrified at his admission, to go from disgusted and disappointed, debating whether to make videos or public statements about him, and then letting the guy back in just a month afterwards because your underage friend asked for him to be back in. But I also noticed the date of these messages, February of 2020. This means that Ponder prioritized the 5 videos on me over both Fegos and Spoctor. But if I note that to point out how ridiculous that is, the sheer gall of it, especially considering the lies she tells in these videos, I'm just throwing a tantrum, according to some people who complain about my videos. But more into that later. Now, it was later that same night, during a stream, the op block specifically, that Chuuli shared some screenshots from Discord showing that while she was underage, I believe she was 14 at that time and Ponder would have been 25, Chuuli had made artwork that was NSFW for Junkie, and he had encouraged it. Ponder also knew about it, along with some questionable messages with the two of them within that conversation, to say the least. It's nearing the FCK territory of just talking about sexual shit casually and directly with minors, like the Gamer Zone chat. And just to be clear, I'm not saying it's the same thing as the Gamer Zone chat. I'm saying it's nearing certain aspects of the Gamer Zone chat. The Sandy Futa porn, you'll remember the Nazi porn, and some of the other discussions. I'm not saying it's the same thing. I'm saying just the conversations, the text conversations without images of them conversing sexually with the minors that were in there. It's nearing that. I am not saying it's the same thing. I'm not saying, and I'm not going to say, this is enough evidence of Ponder grooming Chuuli, because there needs to be something consistently happening, and there needs to be more evidence for that. But I will say, it's pretty fucking weird. Ponder has also encouraged young teens, like around 13, to research DDLG on top of defending it. So I can't be shocked by this either. The idea of her being very negligent and casually talking about sexual things with teenagers doesn't surprise me. I cannot feign and pretend to be surprised for you all, given many of the things that she said throughout her videos, such as this hilarious fucking clip that I have.
Oh yeah, content-wise, they're definitely talking about masturbatory aids. Don't put strange things into your sex holes, children.
Now, while working on this TISM report, several people who are or were close to Ponder have made statements, so I thought I'd read these statements. From Callimara. Hey everyone, perhaps you might or might not have seen what has come out about Ponder Sprocket very recently. If not, I implore you to go look at Chuuli's latest video, Junkie's Never-Ending Fuck-Ups. While I don't consider myself ACC, nor does my content align with ACC content, Ponder was my friend, as are several art channels who are a part of that community. Because of that, I feel the need to speak up on this. To summarize, I was recently made aware of extremely concerning and frankly appalling actions that Ponder Sprocket had done during the spoctor situation, actions that are far more severe than what was mentioned in Chuuli's video. So she's implying something else aside from Chuuli's video. I have seen evidence that showed collusion and attempt to potentially help a predator get away with their crime, keeping said predator around in spaces with vulnerable individuals, and extreme negligence that put vulnerable individuals at risk in spaces she was responsible for. Chuuli was one of these vulnerable individuals at the time. In the admittedly brief time that I'd known her, I got to meet her in person, shared Airbnbs, and fun experiences with, and she was a good friend who, albeit always seemed quite troubled, truly seemed like she was a sensible individual who cared about the well-being and safety of victims and vulnerable individuals. So with our prior rapport, I felt it only fair to confront Ponder directly about this before making this statement, and I was disappointed to see her downplaying and even omitting the full extent of her actions that had come into contention. Shocking. Now, there's no evidence provided here, but I'm not surprised in the fucking slightest. Who could have possibly seen that coming? I thought Ponder to be someone better than that, as did many. I wish I knew what was going on in her head during that time or why she made the decisions she did, because unfortunately she claims that not even she knew. I want to believe that she has changed since then and no longer stands by her actions, but for now, unfortunately, I cannot be completely certain. While I am aware that outside of the spoctor situation, that period of her life was a difficult one, especially for her mental health and the environment she was in, however, she was already at an age where she should have known better. I don't think it is enough to justify the decisions she's made, and I absolutely do not agree with nor condone her actions. The last time we spoke, she told me she is currently working on a statement to address people's concerns and is actively trying to better herself and get the help she needs. I hope this is true. She is someone I have come to care about and respect, and someone who's been a good friend to me and a good person for the time I've known her. But learning this has left me shocked and hurt, and it has affected our mutual friends deeply. I don't think things in our friend circle will ever be the the same. And for that, I am grieving the loss of the friendship we once had. We all are. I hope the people who were directly affected by Ponder's actions back then can find peace and closure in this coming to light and finally being addressed. I will leave this statement here. Please do not take this statement as an invitation to contact me about Ponder. I do not want to speak over the voices of the actual victims hurt by Ponder's actions. While this statement is a little much for what little it conveys, supposedly from what I've been told, it's just how Callimara is. But what I wanted to focus on was the supposed statement that Ponder is currently working on. I'm very curious to see how that goes, especially considering the current recent shadow banning of people by the dozen. But I look forward to this statement. Now, the other person to make a statement as of recording this is Klown Teeth. Message I posted on my YouTube that I thought I'd post it here too. My video on Heaton is still being worked on and will be released. I'm going to presume she meant worked on. Due to new information and the emotional ties this stuff has on me, it has been extremely draining. Along with what's been released about Ponder Sprocket, I am grieving the loss of our friendship. All of this has delayed my progress on the video and has changed the direction I originally was going to take. The video is still happening, I just need time. I also want to firmly state I do not wish to associate with the ACC or any commentary group from this point forward. My soul was broken, and I don't wish to continue under these labels due to my personal mental health. I am drifting to focus on being an artist who just exists and wishes to be left in my bubble. My story will come out. It will just be a while longer. Until then, see you all soon. Now, these two statements do two things that are similar. Both of these statements acknowledge what's come out about Ponder, their disappointment with it, and that more will be coming out in regards to Ponder Sprocket. And secondly, they make it clear and known that they don't want to be dragged in or roped in. They don't want people approaching them about what Ponder's done. They're just acknowledging it, saying their piece, and wanting to be done with it. They don't want people coming to them, nagging them about it. And I get why they would put this in their statement, given the long-standing habit throughout any community in relation to commentary, slideshow, art, and in general just mainstream commentary. When someone is under the light of criticism, people's friends are often roped in, or people often reach out to them to try and rope them in or bitch at them, especially using guilty by association. Now, at some point, I don't have a specific date for this, I just know that Yin the Yan posted it. But Malware had something to say, presumably, could be wrong about this, so take this with a grain of salt, but in her own Discord server. Are you okay? I'm pissed and sad, but should anyone worry about me? Not at all. I'll be just fine. None of this is really about me after all, and others are dealing with much more than I am. Thanks for checking in though, that's nice of you to ask. And because I know people are curious about where people are at right now, I'll say this. Please let everyone figure their feelings out at their own pace. If audience members choose to stop supporting, watching, or if friends choose to let some friendships end during all this, then that's their right. For me personally, I have no intentions of cutting contact/friendships over the recent public happenings, which includes Ponder. If that's a hard line for people in my audience that like to leave, then no hard feelings. Always curate your online experience, and thanks for hanging out around my content for the time that you did. As of September 1st, Streamline Workshop also put out her own statement. If you want more information about the situation, here's the video Chuuli posted that makes a brief mention of it. I've been told more information will be released at a later date, but for now, here's my statement regarding Ponder Sprocket, as we've very publicly been friends. I was made aware of the information regarding Ponder's involvement in the spoctor situation a little over a week ago. That being that she stayed silent about after being told by Spoctor directly he acquired CSEM after he turned 18. As I only have a very basic understanding of the situation and the context surrounding it, I won't try to elaborate on any claims brought up and can only say that the evidence I've been provided does back up what's being said. I ended our friendship a week ago and am only keeping minimal contact to relay what people want answers for. I don't have much to add to the situation other than the sentiment that I am disappointed in her actions and grieving the loss of our friendship. Although I've known Ponder for a long time, I have not been close with her for as long as people like Chuuli or Klown Teeth, so I encourage you to give them your support. While I have been critical of some of her actions and discussed these thoughts with her behind the scenes, I haven't addressed any of this on any of my platforms. I'm I'm sorry if my silence has contributed in any way to downplaying or delegitimizing any of the valid criticisms that have been brought up over the past year. Please do not contact any of our mutual friends who have not yet made statements, as they are grappling with this new information as much as the public is. Ponder has never spoken with us, at least not to my knowledge, about many of the things being discussed right now, and a lot of our friends weren't even in the community to witness what happened. With that said, everything that's really come out about Ponder, whether it be from me or from Chuuli or even Goatcato, who has had a few things to say, and whatever else that comes out next, it's really unfortunate that it's taken years for people to assess something critically of Ponder. There's a couple of factors that culminate into that. Either A, the community doesn't like the people that criticize and bring these things up, or B, they like Ponder, they put her in such high regard that they've refused to hear anything out that is negative or critical of Ponder. And this concoction has resulted in a variety of things being missed throughout the years, in favor of keeping the gears in these social circles and groups greased and running smoothly. Now, I'd like to wrap this up by talking about the response to my part 1 on Ponder Sprocket and Darkness Stone's 4-part collaboration. The criticisms, complaints, and statements made in regards to the video and in regards to me for making them, because there have been some pretty funny and pretty interesting ones. One of the more sillier ones that I was shown was someone in some random Discord server, I don't know which one, complaining about the silhouette of me hanging and trying to push the idea that I was somehow trying to be manipulative or emotionally manipulative and making it deeper than what it is. It can't simply be that I think it's funny. No. It has to be me trying to manipulate the audience. But then again, this same person went on to complain and lament about how their community is falling apart, that they're the same age range as me, and that they're desperately clinging to the hope that this is all a massive misunderstanding, and that this person that they grew up watching, that they idolized, isn't a horrible person like most of the other creators turned out to be, referring to Ponder, and that they grew up watching this community, and that they're watching it all fall apart slowly, and it sucks. So I understand, they're just looking for tiny little nitpicks and clinging to deluded hope. But that's what Ponder is to them. She's like their Superman. But that's not all that's been said about my part 1. There's a couple of people claiming that it has nothing new and is just talking about the same old shit, which is outright false. I haven't dug into Ponder's videos with Darkness Stone before these videos, and there are several newly found lies and contradictions in those videos of hers that I haven't previously talked about, that I've seen no one else talk about. So this is either a lie or a false claim made likely to just dismiss my video. From what I can tell, they seem to dislike the fact that I'm talking about the Madame situation and specifically what Ponder did when she was talking about that situation. That's why they call it old shit and dismiss it. It doesn't matter that I'm showing new information about it, because they'd like to believe Ponder did a good job in those videos. Me showing that she lied during it pops that delusional bubble, and likely irritates them. Another response that I've seen is the classic bringing up of the age of the topic, as if that somehow changes what Ponder did. It does work as a good distraction or sidestep. Rather than discuss Ponder's recently found out deceit and the links of said deceit, they complain that I'm talking about years-old drama or years-old videos, that I'm whining about old shit or milking old shit, that I'm saying Ponder is a bad person because of things that happened years ago, that I'm shitting my pants over it. I believe that one was from Lolcow. How dare I say it's bad of Ponder to lie about me when she herself has criticized others for lying and criticized others for lying about minors? To them, it doesn't matter that these weren't known until now. It happened in the past, and therefore it's silly of me to criticize her for it, which is interesting because these same people have no problem criticizing others for things just as old, especially Lolcow. I'm throwing a tantrum for talking about it. For the last 2 to 3 weeks now, they've been repeating this framing, that I'm whining about Ponder, that I'm throwing a tantrum, or that I can't move on, despite the fact I'm not talking about her collab with Nezzy anymore. It's come up a little bit, but solely as a point of reference to prove contradictions and deceit. I'm now talking about her collab with Stone. I literally have moved forward with my series as I said I would. You'd think these people would have an explanation for how I supposedly haven't, or how my video is me throwing a tantrum, but no. They don't address what I said about her in my video, nor the evidence against her. They don't disprove a single thing either. They have just been regurgitating the same cover with each other every time I come up. It comes off far more as them whining and throwing a tantrum about me talking about Ponder, given their lack of substance and the repetition, than me simply discussing new lies that I've found from Ponder. It's blatantly obvious that several within the audience use lolcow just to huff copium. No matter how you people try and frame it, the same problem that you're trying to avoid still remains. This excuse is pretending as though I'm bringing up old information that everyone already knows, that's already been held against Ponder, and that I'm dredging it back up again out of some desperation to get a dig at her. That's not what's happening. This is me sorting through and finding new information and insight about Ponder's older videos and what she did to make those videos. That is what is being held against her. The age of the situation that she lied about doesn't change the fact that she lied and that it was peddled, believed, cited, and unchecked for years up until now. They were not known to be falsehoods until my retrospective videos. If you believe otherwise, provide an example of other people discussing Ponder lying about me, such as her lying about me attempting to dox Lemurs, before my videos on her came out and revealed that. You can't because next to no one questioned her videos, let alone watched my original video on her. My original response to Ponder doesn't even talk about a quarter of the information that my new ones do. I also never talked about Ponder's collab with Darkness Stone until now. So the issues with those videos have sat there for years, leading people to repeating the same misinformation from those videos, and repeating it while complaining about me talking about these videos. That's the best part. Some of the people taking issue with my videos on Ponder are also repeating the false claims Ponder made, showing exactly why my videos needed to be made. The falsehoods are still prevalent. And people tried this same trick to sweep Frenzy Monster's many lies, whether about me or the FCK server, especially from Senate. And considering that lolcow is one of the sites I've seen this on, it's pretty ironic that they're doing the same thing Senate was previously doing. You see, the best of examples being from the VC text chat during the call with Nezzy Monster in 2023. When I was bringing up the lies Nezzy told throughout the years and the misinformation she's peddled, Senate tards, Lio's precious peanuts, including Heaton, cared not for the inconsistencies, lies, or the false accusations from Nezzy, but instead were going on about how it's never stopped being brought up, that I held on to it for 3 years, that I returned with old shit and couldn't let go of the past, that I needed to just take the L, completely ignoring the fact that the sole reason it's being talked about years after is because the misinformation was never corrected, and Nezzy continued to lie about the past every single time it was brought up. The whole timeline of that is in the FCK Maxim. Now this same thing is being used by the people who like Ponder or find her preferable. The second most common response that I've seen is the claim that I'm obsessed with Ponder, and that all I've done is constantly talk about her. This isn't new either. They said it in 2023, 2024, and it's made a comeback now that my series is once more talking about her. This trick has been tried before with me and Doodletones. I had said 2 things about Doodletones in 2020, and the SCC, who had been non-stop running their mouths about me since 2019 across several sites, said I was being obsessive over doodles. They also tried this with Nezzy Monster, but let's put this into perspective, specifically with Ponder in mind. She made 5 to 6 videos on me in 1 year. First the collab with Nezzy Monster in March of 2020, and then her collab with Stone in October, making that a full year later, and the videos total just about 7 hours. I responded 1 time to Ponder in 2020 with a single video on her and Nezzy Monster. I didn't make another video on Ponder until December of 2023, 3 years later, because of my promised retrospective series. It was 3 years of time for her and her community to either correct the record and objectively talk about what happened across the board, that means what everyone did, or to stop talking about it altogether. Ponder did not correct the record, and neither did her friends or the audience. They continued to bring the situation up with Madame, and more importantly, repeated the same false claims and misinformation about me again and again, taking every opportunity they could get to repeat the same false narrative. So my second ever video on Ponder came out at the end of 2023. My part 1 on her and Nezzy Monster. Part 2 of that didn't come out until June 27th of 2024. My new part 1 on Ponder and Stone's collab didn't come out until this year, 2025. Same as part 2. Ponder made 5 to 6 videos talking about me, smearing me. They don't say she's obsessed with me. Then when I make retrospective videos talking about her videos, they say I'm obsessed with her. I've made a few memes and short videos here and there. They were made to promote the larger videos. I don't have the same size that she has, and I don't see you people making your community aware of what she's gotten up to. This is nothing more than yet another effort to make me look bad for simply getting my side out there, and as usual, it's dripping with the same inconsistent, bias glaze. Because you people didn't say anything about her being obsessed with me and 2020. I'm doing exactly what I told you people would happen if you as a community didn't drop it or correct the record. Now, another funny tidbit was one of the people who said I'm obsessed with Ponder on the Reddit thread about my video said that I made yellow flash-like videos before Ponder and Nezzy covered me, and that I nuked those videos after Ponder and Nezzy covered me. This is just schizo-posting made-up nonsense, presumably because they don't like my politics, I'm guessing. But you can go through the Wayback Machine. I don't know what the fuck this person's on about. They're hitting the fucking crack pipe before writing this shit. There's also a few complaints about how long my videos are, that they're hours-long whine fests. I wonder, why would my videos be as long as they are? This is a tough one to figure out. The fact that I'm having to sort through that hours-long mess that she made while presenting evidence that is often in the form of clips so you can hear it straight from the horse's mouth might have something to do with that. But no, that can't be it. That's a reasonable answer that provides context, and they're not looking for reasonable context. They're looking to bitch. Such as that I'm whining that Ponder is Hitler just for hurting my feelings. That one is admittedly amusing, but it's dishonestly reductive. This has nothing to do with my precious little feelings, and everything to do with Ponder being a fraud. That she, just like so many others in the art commentary community, built her entire channel off of bullshit, off of feeding her audience of thousands with bullshit, off of making videos that got thousands, if not millions of views, spouting beliefs and standards that she didn't stand by, whether it be in those same videos she's contradicting them, or after the videos were made, tossing them out the window because she only wanted to use them to get some gotcha points. That's why we're here. At least that's why I'm here. That's one of the main reasons I'm talking about this, aside from the fact that I'm one of the people she's lied about. And if she's willing to lie about me, a complete fucking nobody that's not important at all, she's more than likely lied about other people and other situations. Another common excuse they've been bringing up is that Ponder no longer makes these videos, this kind of content, so why even make mine? What's the point of talking about it if she no longer does drama content? First, because many of her misdeeds were not known about for years, and you people keep trying to skirt around that with shit excuses. Secondly, that didn't stop Ponder. Even after something was over or resolved by the parties involved, she went on to talk about it. Ponder has criticized others for running and hiding from what they've done, for refusing to say anything about it.
I think she said he was racist, therefore she wasn't going to apologize. Which, god damn it, nobody ever learns. By that logic, Penegrin, I don't have to apologize to or feel bad for you because you tried to ruin a teenage boy's life for petty reasons. I actually also spoke with Penegrin on Twitter and admittedly am a tad disappointed. We had an overall cordial discussion, but I gave her warnings about what would happen if she was trying to come back. People were mad at and were clearly still mad at her for vanishing like she did and refusing to say anything about the matter until now. Considering Stories is the biggest culprit here and she's still hiding in the shadows like a cowardly little monster, Penegrin would then become the new focus for everyone's anger because they can't focus it on Stories herself. The same thing happened to Atari when Penegrin and Stories first ditched. I warned her that this would happen, and also that my video was coming out soon so that she didn't get blindsided by it, and yet she still left. God, you tell a person the best way to get people to not be mad is to take the distrust in stride, apologize, and show progression with your actions, and she immediately sinks back into the same thing she did before. Don't even know anymore. People have a right to be mad.
And yet, look at her now. The excuse she's using is her horrible anxiety. But she's told others that they need to listen to when people tell them that they fucked up big time. That they may need to accept that they're gonna have to do that, regardless of their mental state.
Please remember that Ponder Sprocket commentaries are intended as entertaining deconstructions of situations. Whether I succeed in that regard is up to the audience, but the tone that I use for the sake of comedy within these videos should not be used as fuel to harass anyone I talk about, and for here, that's Chimerama. She made a mistake, she knows she made a mistake, and she wants to distance herself from it and progress into future endeavors. Obviously, you guys in the comments might not immediately be aware of that, but that's sort of why I'm making note of it here. Now, yes, I agree that it would be inappropriate for her to just, ditch, as we've seen other users do in the past, but I think the important thing to note here is the potential for the want to learn and improve. Chimerama had issues looking at the situation objectively because of emotional investment, which initially I don't really want to blame her for. But it should also be noted that people did try to tell Chimerama about these issues, and allegedly, because she wasn't in a mental space to deal with it, she ended up being dismissive of these complaints and left the audience confused because of how much context was left out of her video. So, obviously, listening when people tell you that you screwed up big time is something that Chimerama might have to accept she's going to have to do, regardless of her mental state.
But my favorite so far is this new excuse that's being brewed up by our audience. This attempt to excuse Ponder by blaming Nezimonster for it. That I'm focusing on the wrong person, and that Ponder trusted her friend and got the bad info from her. Which is very fucking silly. Out of these two collabs, Ponder is the common denominator, not Nezimonster. Ponder was the one who reached out to Darkness Stone to do the 4-part collab. They admitted this in the videos.
If I use you as an example, Ponder.
Sure.
Before this collab, I was a huge fan of Ponder. Hell, I still am. She then messaged me when she found I had information on the situation through a friend of ours.
But these people complain that I hardly talk about Nezimonster in my part 1 on Ponder Sprocket and Darkness Stone. It's almost as if she's not in the fucking video. Overall, seeing Ponder and some of her audience swoop in for damage control, seeing some of the folks on Reddit, and especially lolcows, seethe and squeal like they are because Ponder is getting less than a quarter of the flack she's given others for the shit she has gotten up to that went under the radar, has been a hilarious 3 weeks, and I'm willing to bet it's going to get better. It's one thing to disagree with a criticism. It's one thing to find a criticism or a complaint ridiculous and silly and outlandish, and it's another to keep clutching to any and every excuse you can come up with to avoid the objective fact that Ponder has been just as dishonest, inconsistent, and hypocritical as other people you all don't like. But these people draw the line at Ponder, presumably because they've propped her up for so long as someone more reasonable in the art community. Take, for example, lolcow's disdain for hopeful speeches, because she was two-faced and dishonest, because she enabled Lio. But when it turns out Ponder isn't all that different, suddenly they don't want to have that conversation. Lolcow watched on and were very entertained and amused by so many in the art and slideshow community getting exposed for their rampant lies and hypocrisy throughout these years. They engaged in it. They loved it. They had no problem and were more than happy with a past situation being discussed to prove someone else had lied about it. But now all of a sudden that it's ended up on their precious Ponder's doorstep, now that Ponder's participation in the same community trend is being discussed and acknowledged, it's me having a tantrum and throwing a fit. They're clearly pissed off and annoyed by it. They delusionally thought Ponder would be exempt from this. They believed no one would dig through, no one would see what she's done, and that no one would care about it. It doesn't matter because she doesn't make this content anymore. The overall theme here is that these people don't want what she's done discussed. They want it brushed aside or the blame placed upon someone else. Another Tism storm is a-brewing. The clouds of Tism are roaring. They're unhappy, and they're about to pour. I could feel it in my bones. It's like when you can smell the petrichor, letting you know the storm is approaching. Cue the Devil May Cry fans. Love for a direct response, rather than this ditching. And per Ponder's own words, her hiding in the shadows like a cowardly little monster. I look forward to these next few weeks.